Hi, and welcome to The Bright Balloon, a podcast where I'm sharing bright ideas for your balloon business. My name is Sarah Meyer, and I'm a balloon business owner like you, and I love the creative side of what I do, but I really love the business side, which seems to be the part where most people struggle. So I'm here to help. Each week, I'm bringing you an episode full of bite-sized tips you can use to make tiny improvements to your business. I want you to make more money, eliminate stress, and learn along with me as we grow our creative businesses together. Welcome to The Bright Balloon. Hello and welcome to another episode. Today I am chatting about balloon drops. I have had an influx of messages of people asking about balloon drops for New Year's Eve, probably because you are getting questions about balloon drops as well. Now is about the time when people are reaching out. And I love New Year's Eve. I love balloon drops. It can be a really awesome way to get your foot in the door for resorts or hotels or country clubs, because a lot of these places have member parties and balloons are a natural fit with New Year's Eve. So sometimes if you've been wanting to get a foot in the door and you haven't, New Year's Eve is a great time to do that. Also, New Year's Eve is huge for weddings. I do multiple weddings every single New Year's Eve because they all want balloon drops. You have to have a balloon drop. However, balloon drops are a totally different beast. They're totally different than decor because they have to perform a task. Your net has to function. You have to know how to explain it to people. You have to leave a little note to tell them how to pull the string or show someone. So it's much different than decor that just has to look pretty. The balloon drop has to function, otherwise it's going to be a huge failure, which is why they make people so nervous. I get nervous every single year. I swear I will never do one again. And then they always all work and I get a huge adrenaline rush, and then I do them every year after that. So we are going to get into the nuts and bolts, how I learned how to make them, how I install them, what I charge. Are they worth it? That's kind of a big question. And I'm going to share a couple of balloon drop nightmares that I have experienced firsthand. So we are going to take a quick break and hear from a sponsor and then get right back into it. If you haven't checked out Having a Party Wholesale yet, what are you waiting for? And guess what? The deal just got even sweeter. Our friends over at Having a Party have set up a special coupon code just for listeners of the podcast. Use code BRIGHTBALLOON for 5% off the next time you check out at Having a Party. So head over to havingaparty.com for your next balloon order. All right, welcome back. So first of all, how did I get started in balloon drops? I do quite a few, and I remember starting off in my balloon business, and I watched a webinar on Balloon Boss Mastermind. So you know Joette, you know Balloon Coach. The mastermind group is called Balloon Boss Mastermind, and you're welcome to join. It's amazing. I have learned so much from that group, but I remember probably 6 years ago now, I watched a webinar with Chris Potts, who owns Balloon Masters out in Buffalo, and he did a webinar about New Year's Eve balloon drops. So I learned how to make my own. I learned how to hang them. I learned all the ins and outs of what to do, what to price. And all of those resources are still available on Balloon Boss Mastermind. So you can log in. There's blogs, there's webinars, there's tutorials. You can learn how to make your own balloon drop, how to rig, start to finish, and it will be the best $100 you spend. So don't try to learn from YouTube. Don't try to, have someone explain it to you over a DM on Instagram. Pay the money to join Mastermind for just 1 month. Learn all about balloon drops, and it will be so worth it. You'll pay it off if you sell one balloon drop. And then if you want to cancel your membership, you can, or you'll probably want to stick around because there's so much in there. Once you get in and you see what you have access to, I'm a member. Lots of cool people are in there. It's the best learning resource that I can recommend for you. So that is how I learned how to do balloon drops. No one came and showed me hands-on. I just learned virtually. But the thing that stood out to me in that conversation with Chris Potts is that I don't remember the exact number that he said they did in sales for New Year's Eve, but I swear to God, it was it was more, I know it was more than I make in a year. At the time, it was more than I had made in a year. I want to say they did like $40,000 in sales for New Year's Eve, which is crazy. When I was just starting out, I was like, that's madness. So from the beginning, I was like, I want a piece of that pie. So I went out hard. And I remember my first New Year's Eve, everyone talking about how busy they were. And I didn't have anything. I didn't have a single job. So then the next year, I was really, really determined to get some jobs, and I did okay. I think I got like 3 or 4. And then the following year, I don't know, things went bonkers. And I remember we had like 14 or 15 balloon drops to set up. So that was too much. That was crazy. And now I've settled down, and this year I'm shooting for like 5 or 6. Like, I don't want anything crazy, but it feels like free money. Once you get in the New Year's Eve spirit and you start really cranking out these balloon drops, because once you get over the hurdle of how to make the net or where to buy the net or how to hang it from the ceiling, after that, it's literally just blowing up balloons and throwing them in the net. Like, it's mindless and it's so great. But once I learned, I was really ambitious, and oh my gosh, this is like my actual nightmare that I lived out. My husband and I tackled our very first balloon drop. It was for a school, and it was 30-foot ceilings, which like now, because I have a brain, I would be like, no, hard pass. But at the time I was like, yeah, we can figure this out. It was in like an auditorium that had like the tallest ceilings you've ever seen. And at one point we had, like, you know, the ladder, it's like the little rascal ladder that actually like can be standing like a ladder, like a V, or you can extend it all the way. So it's like an actual like scaffolding style ladder. So we had that all the way extended against one of the walls. And then my husband was balancing on the top rung with my mag pole, like fully extended another 20 feet, trying to get like the rope over the rafter. Like, I thought he was going to die. At one point, we finally got the rope up, and then we were hoisting it. But because I used the wrong line, I didn't use paracord. I used like clothing line, which has like a stretch to it. Super dumb. And we were hoisting it up, and the line actually broke. So all the balloons came out. And this was after hours in this school. So we were locked in, meaning like the doors were going to lock behind us. So my husband had to go to the hardware store to buy new line because ours broke. And I just was locked in this school because if I went out, I wouldn't be able to get back in. It was a nightmare. Like, I just remember screaming the F word from the top of my lungs as this balloon net fell down. And then we didn't even inflate the balloons enough. They were so underinflated that when it finally, when we pulled the cord and the balloons fell, they just like fell to the ground like little potatoes. I don't know. They were not fully inflated. So they were just like little plops on the ground. It was not a great drop. It was terrible. But I could not have done a more difficult drop for my first time. Everything since then has been downhill. I've never had one fail. Like, I've never had someone go to pull the cord and it not work. So that was good. My other disaster happened last New Year's Eve, and I remember recording an episode about it. But I got to the venue and the colors were like purple and silver and white, super unique. And I read the little sign and it was like the so-and-so wedding, like the Meyer wedding or whatever. So I look at the floor plan, everything checks out. I hang the balloon drop. And then like hours later, the event planner called and she was like, "Where's the balloon drop?" I was like, "It's hanging on the ceiling." She's like, "No, it's not." So it turned out there was another wedding at the same venue in a different room with the same colors and the same last name. It was unbelievable. So I had to go back out there. It was like 35 minutes away. I had to drive back out, take down the balloon drop, hang it in a different room. Meanwhile, the other bride was like, "Wait, can I pay to keep that? I want that." And I wish I had had an extra balloon drop waiting, but I didn't, and I didn't have time to blow one up. So I got it rehung and it worked out. It always works out. But man, New Year's Eve is just super duper stressful. So if I haven't scared you away yet and you're still interested in balloon drops, let's get into it. All right. So I already talked about how I learned how to do them. And that was on Balloon Boss Mastermind. And I don't think I said this, but we'll link it. So if you're not sure what that is, we'll link it below so you can check it out. And there are 2 different routes. You can make your own nets, or you can buy pre-purchased, which is my preference because I'm lazy. So I like to be able to just roll that cost of the net into whatever I quote for the net, for the actual finished job. But before you go quoting people, make sure to check out nets because they're expensive. Like they can easily be $50. And sometimes those get lost or thrown away and you don't get them back. Or sometimes it's far away and it's not even worth going back for. So those are kind of the two directions you want to go, either the pre-made or the do-it-yourself. The reason that you would make it yourself is because you can make them the right length and the right depth, and also they're a fraction of the cost. So it's like a trade-off. Do you want to put in the time or do you want to put in the money? The other thing about knowing how to make your own net is that a lot of times the pre-made nets are really deep. So imagine if you are hanging a balloon net from an 8-foot ceiling, which I wouldn't recommend. Let's say a 10-foot ceiling. If the pre-made net comes and you don't open it up first and you open your box on site and you start inflating, you're going to quickly realize that some of those nets hang down 4 or 5 feet. Like they're really deep. So if you're hanging a net from a 10-foot ceiling and it hangs down 5 feet, like you're in trouble. The guests are going to hit their heads on it and it's going to look ridiculous. So you need to factor in the actual depth, which is why when you make it yourself, you can make like really skinny little nets that only hang down like 2 or 3 feet. And that will be much more appropriate in the venue, depending on the ceiling height. So that is why you would want to take the time to know how to make them yourself. Also, in a pinch, it's nice to know because sometimes people just want 200 balloons in a net, and the cost of buying a pre-made one might outweigh, what that's worth. You can just make one from supplies from the hardware store. Now, the other big factor of a balloon drop is rigging. That's where most of the work comes in, is knowing how to rig the net. And simply put, you're tying the balloon net to the ceiling. But that's always much more complicated in real life, especially when you're in ballrooms and commercial spaces, because a lot of times their ceilings are flat. They're drywalled and there's nothing to hang them from. So you have to get creative and know how to hang from a vent or the air wall track in a ballroom, where they have those partitions and the walls kind of slide back. That's a really great area to hang from. You can hang from a drop ceiling. That's kind of my favorite ceiling to hang from. I use hooks and zip ties, but essentially you have to figure out how to hang it. And I do not recommend magnets. I know people do use magnets, but holy cow, I never would, because when you pull that string, there's actually a bit of tension, especially if it's a long net. If you have a 10 or 15 foot long net, which again, I wouldn't recommend, if you go and pull that string, there's a crazy amount of tug because of those balloons. So you want to make sure that your net isn't going to fall down off the ceiling. So that's kind of a big point that you need to make sure that your net's not going to go anywhere. And then you need to make sure your line pulls, which there's 2 factors in that as well. First of all, it physically has to pull, which, I've heard everything going wrong from people forgot to undo the safety knot on the one end and they went to pull, but the line was literally knotted to the net. And most of the time it's user error. That's the other factor. If people don't know what they're doing and you're trusting a drunk guest at a wedding to pull the balloon net, things can go wrong, especially based on what people see on TV, where it's usually one tug and then all the balloons come down. It's not like that at all. You're actually pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling because you're unweaving the bag. You've basically sewn the net shut. So in order to unsew it, you have to pull, 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 pull. So if you have 6 feet of net up on the ceiling, you have to pull 6 feet of line before it's fully open. So getting your guest or your host, whoever's going to pull the net, getting them to understand that is another part of the process. So again, I don't want this to sound intimidating because it's really not, but there are all these little things that you just kind of learn along the way. So after you figure out rigging, this is the other thing that I wanted to say about rigging. Many times the hotel or the resort will hang it for you. They all have teams of engineers. So if you're looking at a ceiling and you're like, that's too high, I can't hang I can't hang from that. Tell them that. And a lot of times they have a team that will do it for you that has like a cherry picker and they can just go up there and know. The last thing you want to do is what I did and be over ambitious and overcommit to hanging balloons from a ceiling that you really can't hang them from. Like that will be a nightmare. So if you can't do it, you can't do it. And if you want to ask them for help and see if they have a lift, ask. But if they say no, then absolutely walk away from the job. Do not make that a problem that you have to solve. But most of the time, like my favorite type of balloon drops are hanging at like rustic old buildings with like lots of exposed beams, tons of stuff to tie to. It makes it so easy. Or over a dance floor at like a country club, they have drop ceilings most of the time. And you can just clip right to those cross beams in the drop ceilings and do a little skinny net. You only need like 200 balloons. Boom, done. It's so easy. But if you have the option of using professional help, that is always there as well. All right, I touched on nets. Balloon distributors have the nets, so that is where you find them. Like go to having a party, and when you're ordering your New Year's Eve balloons, which hot tip, you should be doing that right now because everybody wants chrome gold and black. And if you're an idiot like me and you go to order the week of New Year's Eve, I don't know what happened last year. I was just like, not thinking about anything. And I go to order and all of a sudden I'm like having to overnight chrome balloons from every distributor in the entire United States. And it all worked out. See? So, but don't be me. Order your balloons now. Because everyone wants the same colors: white, black, chrome gold, silver. Just get those. You'll use them. And that's another tip too. You can also limit what your customers have availability to. Like if this is your first New Year's Eve and you're a little bit stressed out, don't give them every color option. Just be like, our balloon drops come in a mixture of black, gold, silver, and white. I remember my first year when I had a lot, or the first year we did a lot for New Year's Eve. I remember it was a nightmare because all of the nets were the same but different. It was like, they want black and gold. They want black, gold, and silver. This one wants white, black, and silver. This one wants gold and silver. This one, like, it was really hard to keep everything straight. So the more you can limit people and just be like, it's a mixture of New Year's Eve colors, the end. Weddings, I let them pick because sometimes they do want some color to like match their wedding balloons. But yeah, now is not the time to be like over customizing. And I had someone once who wanted to like cover the balloon drop in tulle. So it was like a surprise and people couldn't see it. It was just like, no, hard pass. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to lose my mind because it is a really stressful day. My other tip would be don't overdo it. Like I have overdone it where there's no margin for error. Nothing can go wrong. And that's a really stressful position to put yourself in. So instead, leave some margin of error, assume something's going to go wrong, multiple things are going to go wrong, and give yourself that time so that you're not stressed out. So let's move on. Let's talk about charging. Let's talk about how you sell these things. So right now, I am kind of in between my charging models. So last year, I just did a flat fee of $500, and that was about 250 balloons. So that worked fine. I think that's fair pricing, honestly. But last year, I do remember thinking like, this is more work than I'd like to do. So I think I am going to just raise my prices a little bit, or instead of flat fee pricing, let them pick the number of balloons and go to like $2 a balloon, because that kind of gets me at the same point, like 250 balloons for $500 and then include the net in that. That's probably overly generous. But I don't know. I kind of want to also go to like $1,000 minimum because it's New Year's Eve. The other thing I always wrestle with is it worth it? Like, is this $500 balloon drop less work than doing 4 balloon columns? Because the answer is no. Like, no. Like, I can make those 4 columns in my sleep and then just drop them off and leave. So I definitely think there should be like an installation fee involved. 20% of the total is like a good rule of thumb to go with. But again, like you can do whatever you want because it's New Year's Eve and you're in high demand. So you might just want to say $1,000 minimum and your balloon drops start at $750. You can do whatever you want. But just in terms of like ballparking it, because I know some people have just no clue, $2, $3 per balloon is kind of what you should assume. And of course, they're all air filled. So you're going to make a profit, but it's just your time and your energy. It's a whole different ball game. So that's the thing. If you can book up your New Year's Eve schedule with decor that you know how to do in, with your eyes closed, you might just want to go that route and not do the balloon drops. Like, that is totally fine. So I'm curious how other people are pricing. I am charging about $2.50 per balloon with a 20% installation. But sometimes I make that easy on people and I just give them a flat fee, because like I was just at a country club that's 10 minutes from my house, low ceilings, drop ceilings. They want balloons over the dance floor. Again, there was no conversation about how many balloons. There was no conversation about the length of the net. Like, I think we like overcomplicating that for people, but they don't care. They just need balloons to fall from the ceiling. So if you can get yourself into a situation and just say, we'll take care of everything, it's $500. That sometimes is my preference. Or, we'll take care of everything, it's going to be $1,000 because the net's bigger or whatever. You don't necessarily need to tell them, well, like the net is going to be 10 feet long and there's 5 balloons per foot and blah, 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 blah. Like, again, the average hotel manager or country club manager, like, they do not care. They just need the balloons to show up to make their members' event memorable. So that's kind of my pricing take. Again, I am not the end all be all on pricing for sure. But you need to figure out something that works for you, but also something that is worth it. Because if you could do organic garland and make $1,000 doing that, you might just want to do that instead. The other thing that I wanted to talk about for balloon drops is pulling the string. That, like I mentioned earlier, that's a whole thing that people aren't naturally in tune with. They don't know how to do that. So I like to leave behind a little card that explains how to do it. So it says, start pulling the string when you're counting down from 5. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, pull, 4, pull, 3, pull. Because otherwise people start pulling at 1, like when the countdown's over, and it takes a good 3 or 4 seconds for the balloons to fall. So you want to tell them start pulling early. And I just kind of tape the string really high up onto the wall so that no one's going to knock it with their head or something and pull the balloons too early. And then I put the little card on there. So I do not stay. I mean, I physically couldn't pull all the balloon drops. We hang about, 10 or 15 of them. So there has to be someone on site to pull the string. So again, don't overcommit. If they say oh, are you going to be here? Don't just say yes because you're excited to get a balloon drop. Say no, but you're going to leave instructions and get those instructions taken care of now. Don't leave that until New Year's Eve and then you realize you have to write a handwritten note. I leave my phone number if there's any problems. And then at midnight, I'm just waiting for my phone to ring and it never does. So you do need some nerves of steel. So yeah, I don't stay on site. I don't pull the string. That was another question that I got. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention about drops in general is that you need to know the length and the height of your net. And I mentioned earlier, that is why you would want to make your own. You have a little bit more control over the length and the height or the depth of the net, because you don't want your net hanging down so low that it's going to bonk people in the head. So if you're looking to buy store-bought ones, you really, really need to read the descriptions, because they're all different. And sometimes they're 10 feet long and 3 feet deep, or 5 feet deep and 15 feet long. And they're literally all different. So start browsing nets right now, but make sure that you don't buy a 15-foot net to fit over a 10-foot dance floor. So you have to know kind of the sizes ahead of time so that you don't put yourself in a bad situation. Because it is one of those things that if you don't know how to make your own net and you buy the wrong size store-bought one, you're kind of going to be screwed on New Year's Eve. You want to have all of that figured out in advance. And the nets are reusable. So I would get a net and do a balloon drop if you've never done one. Fill it up, figure out how to hang it in your house, and pull the string and just see how it works, and you'll feel way more confident about it. That would be my advice. All right, let's take a little break, and then I am going to talk about alternatives. If you've listened and you're this just sounds like a lot of work, I don't think I want to do that. We'll talk about a couple of New Year's Eve alternatives so you can still turn this into a really profitable holiday.
Are you facing some competition? Hi, I'm Jeff from Asset Lab, and we help balloon decor businesses stand out online and generate more leads, more phone calls, and more contact form submissions through great online marketing. We can help you with your website, social media, advertising, Google search, you name it. We've helped balloon decor businesses with it. Learn more about us at assetlab.us.
All right, welcome back. So I mentioned before that if you are thinking about getting into balloon drops, first you want to figure out if the juice is worth the squeeze. Is it going to be worth figuring out how to do these? Or can you just sell columns and organic garland and arches and decor, things that you already know how to make? So before you dive headfirst into balloon drops and decide this is going to be your new thing, really think about, like, first of all, I would ask, is there a demand for it? Are people messaging you wanting them? Because if so, it might be worth getting into. But if no one has even asked you for a balloon drop yet, then maybe you want to focus on what people are looking for, which might just be your decor. The other thing that I love and that I always have success with is offering pop drops on New Year's Eve. These are one of the coolest things. So I offer pop drops in two different ways. So these would be, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, imagine like a jumbo balloon full of little mini balloons and confetti hanging from a ceiling, and then you pop it with a stick and all the little balloons come out. So like a miniature version of a balloon drop, but like a different application. So I sell these in two different ways. I sell them for corporate events and I hang them from the ceiling. So like bars, country clubs, you can hang them with magnets or ceiling clips. I was actually warned not to use a magnet because the burst of the balloon could actually like shake the magnet loose and hit someone in the head. But other than stuffing the balloon, which is the hard part, getting the little balloons in the big balloon, once you figure out how to do that, there's nothing to it. You can pre-fill all of these and let them sit there for, I don't know, a week, maybe 2 weeks. Like you can pre-inflate. I should have said that about balloon drops too. You can pre-inflate your balloon drops. They'll last a really long time, but we inflate on site because they're just so big and bulky and it doesn't take that much time. So I always inflate on site. But these pop drops, you can pre-inflate the little balloons, put them in the big balloon, and then let the big balloon kind of deflate around it. So it looks like a creepy little, I don't know, egg sack. They're really weird looking. And then the day of, you just inflate the big balloon around it, hang it from the ceiling, and it looks awesome. The other thing, it's no technology. I just include a little pointy stick, and that's how people pop them. So they're not hung so high that people can't reach them with a 3-foot stick. I put a little pin on the end and also a little card. It just says like, pop me at midnight. And that way they're great in bars. You can hang like 5 or 10 of them, and then like they just pass out the little sticks at midnight and they pop them and they're fun. I've done this for kids events too, where like one big balloon drop isn't going to work in the space. So instead we do like 5 or 6 of the pop drops, and they're really profitable. I sell them for like $75 a piece. So you can quickly get to the point where you're making more money doing the pop drops than you would in a full professional balloon drop. So the pop drops are an option. The other way I sell the pop drops are to individuals. So I do a big pickup. People pre-order, and then the pop drops, I do these in 16-inch balloons, so they're a bit smaller. And I have a stuffing machine, which has made it so easy. But I do have an old school way of doing it, like just with a balloon straw. And I have a tutorial. I think it's like $12. If you're desperate to know how to stuff a balloon for New Year's Eve, you can check out that tutorial, but it's not rocket science. You basically fill the outside balloon with a bunch of little balloons or confetti or whatever you want to put in there. And then I inflate them. I put them in a bag. I add a little popping stick, and then people come and pick these up. And I think I did them really inexpensive last year for like $30 a piece. But again, these were like 16-inch balloons, so not the 3-foot jumbos. And I, again, market those as like individual little balloon drops or pop drops. And you can sell those more on the family side. So anyone who's done like birthday party balloons. And I feel like people are usually like really in the spirit to spend money for New Year's Eve because they usually have like a bunch of kids at their house. They're going to go to bed at like 9 o'clock. They need something to do to signal like the end of their night, the end of their year. So these pop drops are super fun. And something I did to promote them last year was that I said anyone who submitted a picture of their pop drop in action got entered into a drawing for a free birthday delivery. And I got like 15 people that sent me photos. So now I have all of these really good marketing photos. Oh, but another plug, another reason to get into Mastermind this month is because all those materials are in there. So we, as a group, created the Facebook post. We created the language. We created the little tags to put on the pop drops. So all things pop drops are also in the Mastermind group. So that's the type of stuff that you get in there if you join. So check it out. Now is the time to do it. Learn how to do a balloon drop. Get all your marketing materials for your pop drops, and you'll pay off at least your 1 month of mastermind, and then you can cancel if you want. But again, you won't, you won't want to. So all of those resources are in there as well. But yeah, you can market these pop drops in a little bit of a different way if you want to get in on the New Year's Eve action, but you don't want to go the super commercial hotel wedding balloon drop route. You can sell these pop drops individually to venues, or you can sell them to families, and they're really fun. So whatever fits better with your business model, I would definitely go that route. Also, whatever fits better with your life. Like New Year's Eve is a weird time. I know a lot of people, like my friend Dennis, who was just on the show, he shuts down his whole business through the holidays. Like he doesn't do any New Year's Eve work. And I think Dante might have said that as well. Dream Factory Balloons up in New Jersey. I think he said that after Christmas, or like for Christmas, they just kind of shut down and take an actual holiday break and spend time with family. So that's totally fine too. If you just want to close your doors and not hustle at the end of the year, like definitely, I have hopes of doing that. But for now, the New Year's Eve is it's too big around here because I live in a resort town. So all the resorts have parties. A lot of people come up to their lake homes to have family parties. So New Year's Eve is always really good to me. And finally, the last tip that I have is that you do not have to install these things on New Year's Eve. I usually start installing 3 or 4 days before New Year's Eve. So balloon drops can easily hang on a ceiling for 4 days. There is no problem. The balloons are going to be fine. Use good quality balloons. They're not going to deflate. And that way you're kind of spreading out this massive holiday over a couple days. So you can see how it's easy to get to 10 balloon drops if you're just doing 2 or 3 a day for the few days leading up to New Year's Eve. I like to be done with everything by like 1 o'clock on New Year's Eve in case something goes wrong and I have to do last minute, especially because a lot of the parties also start at like 4 or 5. So you don't want to be in there trying to get the balloon drop up before the wedding or the dinner starts. So get all of your stuff done really far in advance, and then you can order a pizza and have a glass of wine. Oh, sorry, those are my New Year's Eve plans. But you can do whatever you want and just relax by like 7 or 8 o'clock and go to bed. And then you pray. You pray that nothing goes wrong. That's what I do. Want to hear how mean my husband is? Last year, we were sitting on the couch having a relaxing night, and he looked at me. He's like, just imagine, in 5 minutes, everything's going to be great, or you're going to get a phone call, and something will have gone wrong. And I was like, why would you say that to me, you psycho? Like, he just made me nervous for no reason, and nothing went wrong. So I hope this helps. I hope this is a start. Certainly, this is not all the information you need if you are going to do balloon drops, but all the information you need is inside of Balloon Boss Mastermind. I promise that is how I learned, and it will be worth your 1 month subscription if you just learn how to make a balloon drop and sell 1 or 2 of them. So yeah, good luck for New Year's Eve. Start planning now. Start reaching out now. Also, this is a great time to cold call. I know that can be really scary, but it's a great time to call a venue and say, I do balloons. Do you have anyone lined up for New Year's Eve yet? If not, I'd love to provide you with your decor. That's a really easy cold call because there's a set time, there's a set reason, and you do something that is really specific for that time. So people might be really relieved to hear from you. All right. Go get them. Hopefully you make some sales, or let me know if you are like, screw that, I'm not doing anything on New Year's Eve. I am going to relax and have fun. So let me know either way, and I will see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening. As usual, I tried to keep it bright and light. If you're interested in bonus episodes, head over to our Patreon group where I release a brand new episode every week in our book club. Each month, I read through a brand new self-development book that helps us all grow and learn in our businesses. Or join the brand new Money Archetype tier and gain access to bonus episodes and resources all about your money archetype. For more information about any of the resources in this episode, check out the show notes or head to thebrightballoon.com.